Obviously, we're October, almost the end of the year. Hard to believe 2022 is coming to an end. It's been quite a year of broadband expansion. Would you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so many expansions just in our area, not to mention the fact that rural telecom is blowing up everywhere.
Yeah, I think if we think about the amount of activity that's happened in this year as a comparison to the last probably 10 years, it's probably pretty amazing. I guess the question for you guys are, what are you seeing that is working today, and what's not working in this massive push to try to bridge that digital divide, create more digital equity? What's working, what's not, from your perspectives?
Well, I think, you kind of got to even take a step back before then, because 2022 has kind of become the year that we expected when COVID started. I've told people COVID was actually the best thing that could have happened to our industry, because it made so many people recognize that you could work remotely, and a lot of people had to work remotely, and some people had to go to school remotely. So the demand for fiber to the home became astronomically increased. It increased astronomically over the last couple of years, mostly because COVID drove it there, where sure, it was nice to have in the past, but it's become a bit more of a necessity. So 2022, from my perspective, we were still in the COVID hangover, and a lot of people weren't, the money wasn't flowing yet. But I think what we've seen this year is that both the private sector and the public sector have come together, and, even though they may not be working together so much, they are both concurrently trying to spend a significant amount of money in expanding fiber to the home across the country. So just with that, I think that 2022 really has been a leaping off point for a lot of companies. You're seeing a lot of new entrants into the market. You're seeing a lot of large investment houses that are trying to invest significant amounts of money into the market. And you're seeing the government recognizing that, hey, there's a lot of unserved areas that we recognize that the public sector, the private sector may not be able to fund. The business model may not work. So you're starting to see now the government stepping in as well and saying, okay, we've got some grants to put out there so that we can expand. So I think what we're starting to see right now is the private sector money is flowing. It's flowing well. I think the public sector money, it's slow, like it tends to be on the front end of a lot of the big programs that are out there. But you can start to see the applications that are going out, the people that are trying to apply to get the funds. So as far as what's really working, I think what's working is the kickoff to what is going to be, in my mind, a 5 to 10 year wave of construction of new infrastructure across the country where we need it. So
I would add on to that and say that I think starting beginning of COVID, and especially now with the infrastructure law, that there's a lot more public awareness, right? We kind of had our private companies, our public companies who are in the space, obviously aware of what's going on. But I think the general public is now kind of more aware. I remember starting this and had friends who would say, "What's broadband?" Right? It wasn't kind of in the public mind. But I would say certainly now, between recognizing the great need for it that came from COVID, along with this huge influx of funding going towards it, it's certainly become much more front and center in the public mind, in the media, in the news, which I think is a good thing, because it means we have more action being taken and more work being done to bridge that digital divide.
Yeah, you don't often hear yes, government involvement is really great.
And I mean, there's hiccups, there's growing pains, there's, for NTIA, who got a lot of this funding, the vast majority of it, they haven't really had that much experience in this before. And I think we've seen that from even last year when they first came out with their broadband infrastructure program. Between that and what they expected from the middle mile, I mean, it was like two different programs it looked like two different agencies had put it out. And so clearly they learned a lot.
So what's not working is the fact that probably the people that have worked with these organizations have never had to deal with the amount of money and distribution process that they've in their lifetimes, probably.
No. And unfortunately, a lot of the people who are reviewing these grants don't have the industry background, even from engineering, basic engineering. We had a review of an application we put in where they came back and asked us to explain what an access point was. And for us, that's broadband 101, but you then have people in grants writing out what an access point is. And, that's something that you would expect a reviewer to know. And it then just prolongs this process of this back and forth. And, then the money takes longer to get to folks, and, it could be a big, long drawn out thing because of that learning curve.